So I can be considered a great cook in the island of Puerto Rico. But since I was a child, I have been studying sciences, literature, and languages like crazy. In reality, I speak to many people about science, but I noticed people usually get bored, so I changed the topic quick. But to get that out of the way, I can teach Spanish language, literature, and vocabulary if I really had to. I studied under Professor Pino from the Inter-American University of Puerto Rico, who defended her thesis in Madrid, Spain. I can speak 4 languages with great detail and have knowledge of hundreds of languages, which I kinda have to study every single day due to the nature of my research. Anyways, I don't talk much about my education, so for this story, you can call me Undercover Boss. So I found myself needing a job, and I find a place where they are simply looking for a dishwasher. I know I am a cook, and I think to myself, I can get the job, but even though I am a cook, I just need to score any job, whether it's cooking, cleaning, or mopping. I knew I am versatile enough to know I can go and cook any dish in that restaurant without ever being taught. Actually, I had been cooking for longer than the head cook of that place himself, and I knew my worth. But all I want to do is work, so I get this dishwasher position. The owners have to take me in when they see my resume. And as I work, I notice the waitresses who bring me the plates and the dishes. So I like to live in my own world, but I also make people laugh as they work. But then this newer girl arrived as a waitress. Let's call her Pebbles. So I see her working. She passes by me. I try to make her laugh. But when I do, I notice 2 things in particular. I can tell she is the type of person that enjoys to have a good laugh. But I noticed something else. She frowned her eyebrows too much sometimes. This really raised red flags to me. And I could tell she was the type of person that confuses kindness with suddenly everybody that automatically talks to you is after you in a romantic way. Me, in my mind, I saw these things way before they could even happen. So I had a close eye on her. Besides, she wasn't my type. Like, really. I could say she is more on the ugly side, no offense. But I knew she was capable of attacking my innocence. I did show her I wasn't interested in her. I always spoke and gave my attention to the girls I liked, especially when she was around. So she could see and she could understand that she was actually ignored by me. But I would keep joking with her, but with a lot of caution. And even with caution, she would seem like she would be suspecting of me or trying to get with her. But I wasn't gonna let that happen. Just her predetermined defaulted 1 raised eyebrow was enough for me to distance myself from this person, from this. I thought she was a total creep. So I ignored her for days, and I could tell she began to miss my jokes. But she wasn't going to get any now. I could tell every time she entered the dishwasher, she would always look at me with the side of her eye, but trying not to be noticed by me. However, I do notice these things, and I don't have to be looking straight at you to notice. But then, I decide to talk to her and joke around like the usual. But again, Pebbles seems to make things 1 step further than it really needs to be. So one of the jokes had to do with language. We were making joke about speaking many languages or something like that, right? And she comes to me to tell me something in the lines of this: how can you speak anything else if you can't even speak Spanish right? So even though I joke around, I don't really say things like that. In fact, It is a fact between the work team that I have a speech impediment that causes me to speak slower. So now, I could tell two more things. I am sad now because I joke around, but I don't bully around. Now, Pebbles is just being mean. And I also noticed that my efforts to laugh with somebody quickly turned into a girl who began to think low of me. Well, enough to walk around mean and appear tired of my presence every time she would be near me. So then I got sad thinking of what she told me. I knew she just saw me as some dude who's trying to creep. But I was so thankful I saw her signs from the beginning. I had studied body language and energy language long ago. Things that help identify this type of nasty-hearted people right away. So I had no real damage done. But I was feeling pretty sad she would say that. Well, it wasn't a joke. She wasn't lying or joking when she said that to me. She threw that at me with her eyes wide open, saying, You can't even speak Spanish right. So now I am thinking, and I'm sad there. And then I realized I actually do study a lot. And I remember that with all I have learned, she really didn't seem like the kind of person that even reads at all. I was actually thinking maybe she can't read. Actually, I was pretty sure she comes from maybe a community with low resources and with a high crime rate. So I laughed to myself in my mind, knowing what I was going to do was actually going to work. Then I put a straight face and I call her. Hey Pebbles, come here. Come over here. I have a question for you. And she says, what? And I ask her, I just have one question. What is a noun? What's a noun? What's a noun? And she looks at me like, what? And I repeat, what is a noun? Can you tell me what's a noun? And she opens her eyes wide, looks at me and says, no. And I look at her and say, ha, I caught you. You didn't know I teach Spanish. Ha ha ha. And I was like, amazing, like, but she knew she was wrong. So she wasn't that angry looking now. She raised her eyebrows in shame, turned around, and continued to work and clean. Wepa,